What's going on? Big Shay reporting for Duty. Welcoming you back to another episode of the Yellow Cafe podcast. I just wanted to speak on this particular topic right quick because I've been seeing a lot of these videos that a lot of times I want to respond to these things and comment on these things, but just typing things into the comment section and stuff like that it just isn't enough for me right now at this point in time. The most important reason I want to do this is I have conversations with friends of mine, partners of mine, or just people who I come across all the time. And there's just so many things being said and spoken that a lot of times there are opinions given from a standpoint of the world and the society and this and that. But like I say, I always want to bring the standpoint from the Word of God. Now, like I say, if you don't believe in the Bible, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you may agree with some things I say, most things I say, a lot of things I say, because even though the world tries to deny Jesus Christ all of the time, the world still operates in terms of morality according to all of the things that Jesus Christ spoke and promoted. Most people who don't even believe in God still get their morals straight from the Bible, whether they know it or not. You may not believe that this is wrong and that is wrong and this is wrong and that is wrong, but yet you know still that you shouldn't murder. You know that you shouldn't steal. You know that it's not right to cheat on your husband or cheat on your wife. Where do those things come from? Those things come from God, from the Bible. Those rules, those morals come from the Holy Spirit. They come from the first mind that comes into our mind when we're thinking of things. And whether you want to admit it or not, that comes from the Word of God. So I just let's get into it. Hopefully there's not any cursing in this video because I really don't want to do videos with cursing, and I need to find the time and apps, I guess, or the ways to blot out curse words and stuff like that. But hopefully they don't do too much of that because I want to keep my video as clean as possible because I want anyone to be able to listen to it. So if there is, please excuse me, please forgive me ahead of time. I'll try to do what I can to edit it out. But let's just get into this. You see that the title of the video is "An ex-stripper tries to shame a co-host for having standards." We see this all the time. And something that I always speak on is that many women in today's day and age want to act, dress, talk, and look like prostitutes, but be treated like princesses. A lot of this comes from the feminist movement, which is one of the most evil things that could have ever happened to this country and to families and to relationships or the relationship dynamic between men and women. But let's just check it out.
Okay, question. So if a woman, just like Melvin, just say a woman, her past was that she just used to strip, right? 10 years prior to meeting
Melvin's?
No, just say a woman.
Oh, a woman,
and
okay.
Just like, instead of it being Melvin, it's a woman. In her past, she used to strip,
Okay.
but now she's going on and she's.
First off, she said that in the past a woman used to strip as if that was just nothing. Like that's just a little old thing. Like that's major for most decent men. Now we're not here to down anyone. I don't know people's past. I don't know the type of abuse that people have gone through, the type of things that have happened to people or especially women. I don't know the type of things that men have done to them when they were small. I don't know the type of abuse that people may have experienced from their fathers, uncles, from their mother's boyfriends. There's a lot of, I want to say this right quick. At one point in time in my life, and this is going to sound crazy, I understand that, but just please forgive me. But this is just my naivety and immature way of thinking and lack of knowledge and lack of life experience at this point in time, or at that point in time in my life. But when I was young, I didn't think that a lot of things occurred in black households that I later found out did, in terms of abuse, sexual abuse, perversion, things like that. There really was literally one summer in my lifetime, one summer maybe from a summer to a year. I'll give it that time frame. From a summer, from a couple of months until about a year after that. Where I was meeting women, I'm talking about when I'm like 17, 18 years old, where I was meeting women, and just for the record, I've only dealt with black women in my life. I've only ever really conversated and pursued black women. You know what I'm saying? And I'm biracial, so I know that's wild to some people. But that was just always my attraction. Maybe because I was trying to be, when you're biracial and you're growing up, sometimes you want to almost act more black, be more associated with black, because you just feel as though you're almost ashamed of your Caucasian blood. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're young and you're mixed and people call you white boy. That was one of the most disrespectful things in a biracial person's mind that you could say. You know what? I know it's dumb, I know it's stupid, but anyone who's biracial, ask them about it. Don't make your opinion on it and you're not biracial. Ask someone who's biracial. Now, some may have been mature, some may have been grown, some may have been proud. See, I had to learn to be proud of that. Once I really gave my life to Christ and began to look at who I was so proud that I came from a biracial background, because I felt like I could speak from both sides of the spectrum now. I feel like I had the best of both worlds. Understand? I grew up sleeping over at friends' house from school, being in homes that were a couple or a few $100,000, to the next weekend going kick it with my little cousin in the East, where it was anything but $100,000 homes. You know what I'm saying? Or being around other people that it just was different sides of the spectrum. But a lot of times you'll do things to try to overcompensate in your mind. But that's something that I honestly always did. I've always only pursued. Plus, I just was attracted to black women. You understand? And not knowing any better, I was attracted sometimes to the attitude, to the woman who was young but might have been fast or hot in the behind or something like that. You don't know any better. You don't know what you're getting yourself into, but you just know that is what is appealing to your flesh. But let's get back to what she was saying.
Gotten her back. Say a woman.
Oh, a woman,
and
okay.
just instead of it being Melvin, it's a woman. In her past, she used to strip,
Okay.
but now she's going on and she's gotten her bachelor's degree and this, that, and the third.
That's the first point I wanted to stop this video on as well, even though I know I've stopped it already. But to say that you're fixing the problem of a promiscuous background, this is something that women have to understand. Men do not care about your PhDs, your degrees, and all that kind of stuff. All of that is extra, but it's not the main focus. Please let me get this through your mind. We do not care as men about your PhDs, about your bank account, about your status, about your job. Those things, listen to me closely, because I'll say this and women will still not believe what's coming out of my mouth. We do not care about your accomplishments. Because according to the Bible, all we need you to do is to be a wife, to be able to be cooperative, peaceable, someone who could raise up our children in the fear of the true and living God, someone who could be a faithful wife, a faithful woman. We don't care about all of these accolades that women like to name off, that think that these things bring them worth. Those things only matter to you yourself and to other women. And most things that women do, they're doing this to compete with other women. They may not know it, even though I believe many of them do know it, because they compete and they size themselves up against other women. But we do not care about these things. So saying, oh, she used to strip, but she went and got her bachelor's. So what? You already have a degree in sex work. I'm not saying this to put you down. I'm just being honest with you. You already have a degree in promiscuity. You already have a degree in being nasty. So to come around and say, oh, well, now I have a degree in this or that or that, no one cares. That red flag is still sticking up loud and strong. for a man to look at. But for that to be the first thing that she says, like, it's not even like now see, if she would have came out and been like, you know, a woman used to be a stripper, but then she gave her life to Jesus. Uh-oh. Now I have to listen. Now I have to give you a chance. Now I'm not saying that you're gonna be, you know, a candidate for me personally, which I'm already married. So I'm just speaking from a standpoint of if I was not married. But it's not like, oh, now that you gave your life to Jesus Christ, now you're a potential wife for me. And that's just me. Who am I? You know what I'm saying? But I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not God's gift to women, so I'm not saying like my opinion is the only opinion that matters. But what I am saying is that there are consequences to your actions. The same way that I would not promote for my daughter or a woman that I know, that I'm talking to, that I'm counseling, or that I have love for, I would not sit there and tell her to just off the bat go and deal with someone who spent time in jail, but now came home and they different. If there's a better option with a better past and a better upbringing, then you're looking at percentages. You're looking at the chance of things going right, the things of people being raised right, the chance of people continuing to live right. And what I'm saying, nothing that I'm saying is absolute, meaning every single person under the umbrella of topics that I speak on is going to be this way forever. Can't really truly genuine change. Isn't a good candidate to someone. That's not what I'm saying, because everyone has a right to change and to learn from their mistakes. Everyone is not blessed to be able to come from the proper backgrounds to have proper learning and proper behavior from birth. And then there are many people who, even with that proper behavior, still go off into some ways that's even worse than people who have terrible upbringing. So nothing that I'm saying is absolute. But if you're going to be gambling, if you're going to be rolling the dice with something, if you're going to be making an investment, you want to make an investment in something that has the best potential chances, the highest potential, the highest rate of success when you're looking at that gamble. I just wanted to say that just because you have a PhD, no one cares about that. The only people that care about that is the person who's saying it. And a lot of women do things that are important to them and try to make it important to men. Well, why can't I be a wife? I have this, I have that, I do this, I do that. I have my own business, I have my own money. No one cares about that. And men want to feel needed. So men want to feel like a man. Men want to feel wanted. So off the bat, describing a bunch of things that says you don't need a man, it's not a flex. It's a turnoff. It's saying, oh, so at any given point in time, you'll run your mouth, talk crazy to me, be disrespectful, because at the end of the day, you're saying you don't need me and you could do for yourself. You could do on your own. You're already good. So a lot of men are going to look at that and say, well, stay single then. Sounds like you're good at it. Sounds like you're all right already by yourself.
And her stripping career was what paid for that bachelor's degree. Now she's, graduated and onto her career. She meets a man. Will he look at that?
Just quickly, what about the woman who had her bachelor's degree paid for by working an honest job? See, you're trying to justify your stripping because it bought you a bachelor's degree. It afforded you a bachelor's degree. Okay, what about someone who came from a decent household whose parents, father, whoever, funded their education? How about the woman who was smart in school, studied in school, didn't go out partying and doing different things like that when they were young because they were focused on their grades and got a scholarship? So see, you're naming something that's supposed to like elevate you, but there's other people with that same qualification that didn't have to go the route that you went to get it. So shouldn't they have more cookie points than you? You're trying to gain cookie points for saying, I only strip because I got an education from it. Yeah, well, there's plenty of people who did it without that. So why would I not choose a woman with the same degree as you? See, you have the same degree as another woman, but yet another woman didn't let hundreds or thousands of men see their naked body or degrade them or disrespect them. So already, even with that, you're not on an equal playing field. That's not elevating you. I'm happy that you were able to take some of the prostitution money that you made and put it towards something good, but that does not elevate you just because you put it towards an education. And once again, I know some people, this is the only way. There's some women listening to this who, that's all that they knew how to do. I'm not knocking you. I'm not putting you in hell. I'm not telling you that you don't deserve a chance to change and to get your life right and to get the things that your heart desires, especially if they are good, wholesome, clean, godly things. But you have to be honest with yourself. There are consequences to certain actions. So just understand what you're saying. Don't act so entitled that just because you spent this prostitution money on an education that now I have to respect it. I don't. Many men do not have to respect that. And if you're saying, oh, well, stripping is not prostitution, yes, it is. You may not have gone all the way through and done a whole actual physical sexual act for the money, but you used your body. You sold lust. You sold sex appeal. You sold promiscuity, my bad. You sold your body. I didn't sell my body. I didn't have sex with anyone. Okay, well, could you do your job with your clothes on? No, you had to take them off. You sold your body. Like I said, it's not to knock anyone, but you have to be realistic. That way you can see what you need to do to move forward and what you need to do to alter your image if possible, or at least to alter your way of thinking though, because there is someone for everybody. But the type of men that a lot of these women want, these men are telling you how they think. These men are telling you how they feel. But you want to tell men that they're wrong for thinking about things the way that they do because of your past. We don't have to do that. We don't have to look at you any different, any type of way, shape, or form. That's to say, if a man who used to do vile things to small children wanted to come and try to sell some image to you that he's not a bad guy because he only did these things because of X, Y, Z, you're not going to forgive that past of what this man has done because you know that those things are wrong. You're not going to let a man trick you up and play mind games with you and tell you, oh, well, you shouldn't look at me this certain type of way because of the foul, nasty things I did to children a long time ago. It's the same thing. You may say, oh, that's not the same. It's all in the same realm of sinful acts, though, coming from minds that are warped, minds that have been tampered with, minds that have been corrupted. We have that same right to tell you, this is how we look at things, bro. And we're not going to change just because you're trying to paint it out to be a different picture.
As the same as what you were saying is like, oh, I can't bring her into my future. She used to shake her up for a lip, meets a man. Will he look at that past the same as what you were saying is like, oh, I can't bring her into my future. She used to shake her up for a living.
Correct. Yeah. So well, you can go ahead and answer this issue.
Wow, Cooley. I forgot you were here. Hi.
Yeah, because y'all be talking a lot.
He was asleep in the corner over here.
He was asleep. No, I'm just letting y'all speak.
Look at his eyes. He was asleep.
But yes, like Cooley said, we do care about your past. Once we hear that you did anything promiscuous in the past, whether it's be a stripper or a prostitute or just known to sleep around with plenty of guys.
That's not what I said.
That's an order.
And I know some of you all aren't going to like this, but it doesn't take a lot sometimes to just see what type of person people are, what type of energy and behavior that they can potentially give. But this young lady is disrespectful. I can just tell you off the bat already right now, she's disrespectful. She wants to do what she wants to do, make excuses for it, make justifications for it, and then disrespect if you don't agree. Even just from the little subtle comments she's trying to make about how the man was sleeping, this and that. And I didn't see previous parts of this video, but he says, I was letting you all talk. That's why I was sitting back not saying anything. And in most of these videos, the women, which they do have way more women in the room than men, but a lot of times there's always going to be a couple women who are respectful, quiet, calm, speaking when spoken to, responding when spoken to. And then there's going to be others who are just trying to lead the charge and lead the conversation and sell the nonsense to everyone listening. And she's already making a subtle comments, oh, you over there sleep, this or that. I'm quite sure that they were running their mouth already before this clip has started. And there's a lot of times where you don't even try to argue back and forth with these women. You just let it go. Let them see what they're going to see, because there's no change in their mind. There's no helping them. But I could tell that already, that she's going to be a little difficult.
Giving an example, that's an automatic no for most men.
But that's not what I was saying.
Including stripper.
Okay, but
we don't care. We don't care if you
it's sex work. So
rehabilitated.
strip work is a form of sex work, and the reason why. And think about it, like when we get married, hypothetically, say if we got married, you take my last name. So the last name means something. If you are a stripper, well, if you was a stripper, it doesn't matter. Your reputation. What I'm saying is your reputation still carries with you. So the person that I'm giving my last name to, I want her to have a good reputation, not a bad reputation. Now, if we change it, if we say that like the woman got locked up and did some time versus the woman that was on a stripper pole, we'll take the chick that was in prison rather than the chick that was on a stripper pole.
What guys don't want is if I'm dating a girl.
Now, one of the women said that's crazy that a man would take a woman who was locked up before a woman who was stripping. And see, they want to tell you you're crazy for the way that you think. But I believe that's absolutely true. Now, depending on what she was locked up for, because like I said, the same thing for a man being locked up, I wouldn't advise a woman to pursue a man, you know what I'm saying, who has a criminal history, criminal record, and has spent time in jail for particular things. Like, you know, every case is its own particular situation. But for a woman too, I mean, I'm not going to run behind a woman who's been scamming and scheming and doing criminal activity either. But it's just in an order of, if you had to have choices, that still would probably be chosen before or above a woman who was out here selling their body. Now, people may have their different preference or opinion on that. There's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of if you had a wife, would you be more willing to deal with the fact that she went to jail for something in her past, or that she's had numbers ran on her body? And let's say even if it isn't numbers ran on her body per se, like meaning that she's had a lot of physical intercourse with men, but a lot of men have seen her body, the thing that's supposed to be precious to you, sacred to you. Would you rather someone saying, oh yeah, I heard your wife was locked up, or I heard that your wife, or I've seen your wife at the strip club? Which is more embarrassing? And your pride as a man. And see, some people can come and try to tell you, oh, well, that's because you care what people think. And yeah, I have a right to care about what people think, about things that matter to me. There's other aspects in life in which I don't care about what people think. But there are certain things, especially as a man, when dealing with his wife, when dealing with and notice I'm only talking about wives. I'm not talking about girlfriends. I'm not talking about your little boos. I'm not talking about your little side chicks or your little sex buddy, nothing like that. I'm talking about the highest form of being with a woman in a committed relationship in which you want to give her marriage and your last name. I'm not going to play with all that boyfriend, girlfriend stuff. I'm going to talk about what we're supposed to be doing as a community and as individuals, being brought together in marriage. Everything else is nonsense and child's play. But I'm talking about in marriage. No one wants to see that about the mother of their children. But it's disrespectful how women will say that's crazy. Well, that's my opinion. How are you going to tell me as a man my opinion is crazy when I'm making an opinion based off sober-minded thinking, sensible thinking, logical thinking, with respect for myself and my future children? How are you going to get mad at me because I'm thinking about things, taking the time to think about things that you didn't take the time to think about beforehand, or maybe didn't have the knowledge? I'm not mad at you if you didn't have the knowledge or the wisdom or the guidance to think about these things the way that you should beforehand. But you can't get mad at me because I do.
And she used to be a stripper, and I take her to an event with all my friends. The most embarrassing thing for a man is if they come up to us like, "Yo,
I was slapping her booty at, I was
ripping
that thing, bro.
I had in a private room. I did this to her, I did that to her."
Twirling.
Now check this out. That is most definitely embarrassing. The fact of knowing that other men have seen what is supposed to be so sacred and private to you. Now let me first say this. Because I'm quite sure that hopefully they're blowing this situation or make-believe scenario out of proportion. But if any man is coming up to you and telling you that he saw your wife or did this with your wife or da-da-da-da-da, that's lame in itself. Because men shouldn't be speaking like that. And if he's doing that, 9 times out of 10, that's because he's trying to make you feel some type of way. Unless that's your good friend, your good partner, one of your real close partners that's trying to tell you like, which at this case though, if they're that close to you, hopefully they would have been able to tell you these things before you sat there and went and married the woman. Now, I don't know if there's different scenarios. You may have moved out of town. You may not be on social media, so people don't see who you're dealing with. Then all of a sudden you pop up and see somebody one day. You're like, yeah, man, that's who I got married to, or this or that. Which at that point is kind of too late anyway. But any other just random old person walking up to you telling you, yeah, man, I did this with her, did that with her, that's lame in itself. So that, that, like I said, they might have just explained that situation a little improperly. It just, just didn't take the time to lay it out. But that's lame in itself for a man to be trying to tell you what he did with your girl, your wife. You know what I'm saying? But that is a real thing, though. Even if a man doesn't say it out his mouth. There's other scenarios, though, where a man may know your wife. Or you know some type of way that a man knows your wife. And you like, yeah, where you know her from? Or something like that. And they're hesitant to tell you where they know her from. Or they give you a look as though like, yeah, I'd rather not talk about it. Like they may be trying to be respectful and not even get into all of that with you. But based on the look alone, you can tell like, yeah, whatever he has to say is nothing good. It's nothing positive. You feel me? That's a sick, embarrassing feeling. And see, some women want to be able to do whatever they want to do and not think about how that's going to affect their future husband. Now, women could say all they want, but what about a man who has a bunch of women that he slept with, and this and that, and da-da-da, da-da-da? Yeah, well, see, as unfair as this may be, it's not the same, baby. It's just not. From the beginning of time, men have been known to have multiple women, have multiple wives, things like that. And I'm not saying that, once we were given the instructions from God to only have one wife, obviously I'm not defending those things. But from the beginning of time, powerful men have had multiple women. That's just in a man's nature. And even at one point in time, when it was our job to be fruitful and multiply, the right was given to men to have multiple wives. You've never seen where it was where wives were allowed to have multiple husbands. Why? Because a woman can only be pregnant for one man at a time anyway, whereas a man can have multiple wives and all of them could be pregnant. You even look at cows or any other animal in which you're breeding. You have a bunch of females, you bring one male bull into that pen to impregnate as many female heifers as possible. Why? Because men are holding the life in them and are giving that life out for females to be able to hold, nurture, and bring to birth. So it's just not the same. Now, this day and age is trying to make it the same, where, if a woman has a bunch of sex partners, it's the same as a man having a bunch of sex partners. And you can tell that lie all you want. You can try to sell that lie to as many people as you want, but just pure basic human instinct tells you that that's not right. That a woman who does things like that is going to be looked down upon. Whereas a man, strange as it is enough, women are going to be more attracted to him, especially if he does it and I'm not promoting these things. I'm just telling you. I'm not talking about a man who's out here just telling you about all of the women he's doing things with, because that's foolish too. That's clown behavior. Where a man is telling you, I did it with this woman, that woman, this woman, that woman. It's like you have no decency whatsoever. Like that wasn't even cool when we were young. You know what I'm saying? Even if you did it, you still ended up looking like a jerk, especially if a woman found out that you told someone that you did something with her. You felt stupid. You felt dumb. You knew, even if you didn't know it was wrong at the time. But even when you're doing it, you know it's wrong at the time. Because you know, deep down inside, you know you should keep your mouth shut. But a lot of times men want to brag, feel like they're cooler than what they are. They want to impress their partners. So they tell those type of stories. But if it ever gets back to the woman and she checks you on that, you feel like a duck. Because you know that was some childish, feminine behavior. But men who are private with the things that they do, and there's just a legend about them, a certain mystique about them and how they deal with women, women are attracted to that. Some women, I'll say some women, because there are still a lot of women who are decent enough to be like, listen, I want a man who doesn't have a bunch of bodies on him. But see, I don't want to hear that from a woman who has a bunch of bodies on her, but then she's trying to say, hey, because I have a bunch of bodies on me, I can talk crazy about a man with a bunch of bodies. No, you can't, baby. You could try to. You could attempt to. But you're not going to change human instinct that we've had since the beginning of time. Now, this new generation, I don't know how they're looking at things, but we know that our men are very, very feminine. And we know that our women are very, very masculine. So you can't even go off of what this new generation says or does because they are tore up. They're cooked. They're getting further and further and further away from morality and the Bible, the teachings of the Bible, and things like that. They're trying to rewrite history and create their own rules with everything that they do. And it's nothing that you honestly want to be a part of, or that I want to see any of my children or young people that I care about and love. I don't want to see them a part of that. But